She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up, because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about staying in the present and how that works for us. And so I've been thinking a lot lately about how my life is changing. And I really don't know what's coming next. I don't think many people do. But I've lived a life trying to control my future. So I've been really trying to stay in the present. And I started to dive into this concept after listening to this meditation that I listened to quite a bit from Nicole Bayliss. And it goes like this. And while it's wonderful to live our life intentionally, the very energy of goals and forward thinking can take us out of the present moment. And the most important thing for us in this lifetime is for us to all learn to be present. The simple art of being right here, right now, in this present moment. The more present we become, the more aware we become, and the more intuitive we become. And this leads to divine right action in the present moment. So presence is actually what creates our ideal future. Because when we're fully present, we're instinctively choosing divine right action, which leads us to our highest good. And then she goes on really quickly to say, problems arise when we get so attached to our future outcome that our present moment feels lacking, and we fall into the vibration of wanting. Wanting creates only one thing, more wanting. Creating something different to what we want now requires that we still appreciate and are content with what we have now, even if we want something different. And that is the paradox. And it's really been working for me to let go of my future when I stay in the present.
And what does that look like?
Well, I'm going to go on here really quickly to say Abraham says, when you're able to close the vibrational gap between what you're asking for and what source has already answered, so that your vibration is in the moment and it's the same vibrational place as your desire, then you can receive inspiration. Then you can begin to realize the details of what you've been asking for. So for me, I feel like I'm always grasping if I'm not in the present moment. And if I'm in the present moment, I'm feeling very grateful. I'm feeling very full. And for me, that's when I get inspired. And so when I'm present and inspired, I know I'm making the right choices. It's what Nicole Bayliss said, the divine right action. So, and I think it's the hardest thing to do because we want to be orchestrating our future or orchestrating the next move. But in order to have the very best next move, for me, it's been the best situation for me to stay in the present and not in the future. Does that make sense, Amanda?
It does. And so you're going along and you're futurizing about whatever, a vacation. So when you catch yourself not being present, how do you bring it back? What does that look like?
For me, it's meditation and gratitude. And also really trying to get grounded in the feeling of I have enough. This is enough for me. This is perfect. And this is even more than enough. And I am not kidding when I'm in that vibration and not wanting any more than what I have now. It's like the doors open for me and everything comes to me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for going over that again.
That sounds really cool, Melissa. And I have a question for you. What if you're like in the middle of a business meeting? This all happens where you start future tripping. And how do you bring yourself back then?
I actually, like, for me, I just try to be quiet and silent. So, like, for me, if I want an outcome in a business meeting, or if the business meeting is going awry, like, I need to just zip my mouth and get quiet and find my inspiration, or find the voice, the I am, or God's voice, or universe's voice, that kind of thing. And that's
Yeah,
very different for me, Penny.
Ah,
It's a 180. I am the take over the meeting. I'm sure you guys have seen that, but like, take over the meeting, plan things, execute, organize, and so it's against it's a new story for me, and I'm really happy to give up the old story.
I like that, Melissa. It's like other things that we're learning too, just like be still, that type of like taking time to pause and
Mhm.
to be present. Yeah, I love that. And you're right. It does change life. It changes the current vibration. I noticed when I started developing that practice, just my words come out more clearly. Like if I'm in conflict with any family member, whatever, anybody, like you said, the pause just makes a difference.
Mhm.
Brings me back to my loving heart. So like my intention is never to hurt anybody or to wound anybody or to I'm letting go of actually attacking and defending. So that is brings from a center of peace.
I really thought about a lot of this. I've done like The Secret and affirmations and all this stuff. And even when I was doing that, uh I wanted my way, So as long as it was how I planned it, and that it was these things that I was asking for, I was cool with it. Um, and I realized none of this stuff is unfolding in front of me. It's like not coming true. And and then I started this, realized, oh, this is how and it's not to get something, it's to uh, just to be one, like just to get in the flow of what's already, of the plan God already has for me, and the flow the universe already has me in, that kind of thing.
That's it. I love it. Yeah, that's why I think when you're in a creative space, because you're in direct connection with source.
Yes.
That's the same thing. And that's why you're then able to receive and hear what is coming directly from source. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think my agenda becomes just connecting with my higher power. My agenda no longer is like all these affirmations or all these things I've written down, or the once, or that kind of thing. And there goes a plane. And it's been such a better process for me.
So can
It's
you give us
also total.
Oh, our
Sorry, go
customer.
ahead,
It's
Drusilla.
okay.
now, I was going to say, can you give us some examples of some things that have you been able to manifest, like some things that have been happening for you?
Sure. Well, we've been discussing moving abroad, and we planned some. I've been to Europe 3 times this summer, and we just kind of this last trip, we just really. I was kind of practicing with this, and we just went with the flow and met people we should meet, and were given offers to come back and stay, and we met people that were in our industry. Um, and I'm seeing that I'm just taking very small steps in the direction where I want to go, but not planning it all, not like executing a big plan. And so I'm getting nudged. Like I can feel it. I'm getting nudged where to go next.
Great. Yeah. And I think the reason that that works that way, the connection I draw anyway, is that it's because that's the only thing that really exists. Otherwise, you're working in the past or you're working in the future, none of which exist anyways. So you can only be connected to source when you're working with the present moment and when you're present.
That is awesome. That is exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But it's the rewards are great.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
How do you stay in the present, Drusilla?
Well, it takes a lot of practice. Meditation is definitely on that list because it helps you to quiet the mind and you're not wrestling with, thoughts coming in and out. So once you can kind of settle that, you still have to have things that coming on a daily basis for me anyways to help remind me to stay present. So like I think we all are familiar with the divine alarm clock. So when there's something that feels unsafe or like a conflict, like you were saying, if you're in a meeting and it's going awry and you're any feeling of being uncomfortable, then I know I'm either thinking about something from the past or something in the future. It's pretty clear, if you can just remind yourself of that, right? Anything that feels uncomfortable means that you obviously are not in the present moment and receiving from source. So it's kind of how
Yeah.
I've always been able to kind of get back to that place.
The one thing that I'm noticing too is that there are basically probably a million different ways that we can get back to the present. And I love that we each find our own way to help us get there. Like one of the
Mhm.
things, just as you were talking, Drusilla and Melissa, it reminded me that just remembering when I start to future trip or past trip, just to remember where my feet are and stay where my feet are. That's from
Mhm.
12-step recovery. Where are my feet right now? That's where my thoughts need to be, or my intent or my vibration needs to be, or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it can be just simply that, just asking yourself, okay, where am I right now? Because I'm not on that trip to Europe yet, and I'm not back at my childhood home. So I need to be right here, right now. And yeah, so I just love that. Because at first I was thinking, well, shit, I can't do that. And I can though.
Yes.
Can. And I do it all the time.
Yes.
Like, yeah,
Yes.
like you were saying too, Melissa, just zipping up the lip. Yeah. I mean, Stephen Covey says the 7 habits of highly effective people is to seek first to understand before you're understood. And I just always have loved that. And when I feel I'm talking too much, like maybe right now, then you just zip it up and you let others and you listen. Yeah, I think listening is really important too. Stay present.
Yeah, Morgan, I'll invite you to, if you have anything. I know I heard you trying to talk a little bit earlier.
Yeah, thank you. Just let
Yeah,
me know if you can't hear me. Having a little bit of a
it's
unstable
good now,
connection. No,
Morgan.
okay.
It's good
Not
now.
meant to be this time. It is. Okay, okay. It is a totally different way of operating in the world than what we learned in the world and how the majority of the world is operating, as is the case with a lot of spiritual practice. So it may feel unnatural, even though it is totally.
Yeah, Morgan, you faded out again.
Well, speaking of future, like staying in the present and being inspired, Morgan moved to Costa Rica. That's where she's tuning in, and I think that's pretty awesome. And she did that by following her heart and staying in the present. And then she's still talking. There she goes.
I think what Morgan was saying was that it can feel unnatural to begin with. She was saying that's what I heard her say, that just practice and being uncomfortable in the discomfort, or being comfortable in the discomfort, I guess, is really what I want to say.
And I think for me, what really helped was checking myself, like always not having an ulterior motive. So not staying in the present. So I kind of figured out I can get what I want by staying in the present, but not staying in the present to get what I want. Like really making it about where are my feet located at this moment and staying here and being really grateful for everything that's in my life, people, places, things, everything that I'm not working on changing. I am literally just being very grateful and staying here. And without any ulterior motives to move away from right here.
Yeah. I noticed also that when I first started looking at my mind and mind thoughts, like it's amazing how like not in the present I was. Like when I really started paying attention, like I would say all of the time, I was either in the future or the past and barely glimpsed, like maybe not ever was in the present moment. And it was so interesting. And I still see those patterns, although I'm becoming better, or my mind is becoming a little bit more still as a whole, because it's easier for me to say, "Ooh," and catch it and then come back to present. It doesn't feel as frantic, because right when I first started watching it, because it just freaked me out, like to really recognize how not present I was, how much I was in the future, how much I was trying to plan and organize the future, or um, lamenting the past, like I could have or should have, all those things about the past. It is very eye-opening to start watching thoughts. Yeah.
Well, the other
Amanda,
thing
do you have any idea? Oh, I'm sorry, Drusilla. Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say the other thing that helps me is that I have to remind myself to stay in my heart, right? To drop down, because that's where the connection to spirit really is. And that helps to keep the chatter down as well. But I will have to say the first time I really felt the inspiration that Melissa was speaking of, I noticed anytime that I was in my creative space, I didn't even have to pay attention to those signs, the chatter or whatever. It was just that immediately everything started to be in the flow and everything started to come together. And and I started recognizing that, like, oh my God, anytime I'm being creative, whether it's, decorating the house, or it doesn't even have to be work related, but certainly when it's work related, but anytime, and I would just see that everything would start to come together, everything. And then, of course, after joining Masterful Living, I was able to then draw the conclusion to, oh, it's because when I'm in a creative space, then I'm in the presence, and yeah. And so it just all really does work. And it's like you're able to increase your vibration, which means the things that are source are already providing you with everything you need. You're just then at a vibrational level that you can receive it.
I love that. That's perfect. And I do have to say, staying in the present for me has been hard because I was fearful a lot of the time in life. So I've worked really hard on being worthy, being safe, knowing that staying in the present is safe for me and valuable for me, and nothing's can happen to me and that kind of thing. So it's been part of the package, the part of the whole healing that I've been doing.
That's beautiful, because I was just going to ask Amanda if she had determined what has her continually, I mean, and I do it too. I want to know if Amanda had any insight on what has her going, into the past or the future so often.
So for the future, my personality is or has a tendency to be what's next. Something's always better. Like it was, I'll be happy when, I'll like my house when, like, so it was more of a discomfort in the present because I was thinking the future would be better somehow. So that's what it was. My personality is striving. Like I always want to improve. I always want to. So with that, I was pushing, managing, fantasizing, and I still do about like the things that I want and how it could be better. And also with that, so that's what it was. It was just not a satisfaction about the future. And as Melissa was describing, becoming comfortable with now and like gratitude and like looking around, wow, I do have a marvelous house. I do, like, so recognizing the presence and becoming more comfortable with the present and grateful for the present. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm recognizing what I have now. But I'm a little pushy and a little bossy. And, I know what I want, and I'm going to drive as fast as I can to get there. That type of mentality. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even going to label that as wrong because I like my personality. I like the fact that I want to go deeper, my connection to source energy. I want to allow that, or I am allowing that. See, even like talking about it, coming back to present is a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Great. That's really insightful.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful
I think
for all of us.
we all could probably relate to that, because I think we're all pretty much go-getters, and it does take you off guard a little because it feels like you're not being productive. But we all know from experience now that being in the presence, you're 10 times or 100 times more productive than you could ever be daydreaming about the future or reliving the past.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say that on a really practical level, I practice this and repeat this when I'm on morning walks with my dog. So usually there's a sunrise and it's beautiful, or even if it's snowing or whatever, like I have, I've set up the environment when I do this. It is gorgeous and I don't need more than that. But sometimes shit happens. And if I have a shitty day, it's hard for me to, recenter when I'm feeling like crap. So I practice this daily, when kind of the stars are aligned for me. And then I know I can do that now. And then if things, it's just a practice. And if things go shitty later, I'll be able to take that vibration into those hours. But it's not like I'm sitting, meditating, saying everything's wonderful when stuff's falling apart. So I just want to say that it's not like all in my head or anything, and it's practice.
So we're coming to the end of the program. So I was just wondering if anyone has any final thoughts.
Morgan's having some technical issues. Do you want to try Morgan again and see if we can hear you?
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just add quickly that I sometimes, if I feel that I'm stressing about the future, worrying about the future and how things are going to unfold, I just distract myself with something that I know will lift my vibration and bring me back to the present, like petting my cats or my dogs, or, just distraction is a wonderful tool. And it sounds like what I was trying to say earlier is this is a totally different way of operating in the world, and it won't make sense to most people in the world because it's not the way we were taught to behave in the world. It might look like irresponsibility. It might look like you're not worrying enough about the future. You should be planning this, that, and that outcome. And so when you get on this spiritual journey, you are a bit of an outsider from the normal ways of doing things. So anyway, lots that I was trying to jam pack into this last sentence that all made sense and was coherent, at least somewhat.
It was beautiful. Thank you, Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies, for this time together. So until next
Let's just take one deep breath in and just get ourselves really present right now with everything. Just soak it all in. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Needed that. Thank you, Penny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.